I've got the top 10 things you need to know about travel nursing, and I even wrote it down. So let's get started. We're gonna come out the gate very strong, and it's about weekly pay. And it's exactly what it sounds like, weekly pay. You're getting paid every week. So typically your contracts are 13 weeks long. That means you're getting 13 weeks of pay. But week one, like the first week of the month, you're not gonna get paid that Friday. You're gonna get paid the following Friday and then every Friday thereafter. It's like kind of girl math. By the time you get to your last week, it feels like a free check because you're not working that last week, like the 14th week, but you're getting paid, if that makes sense. And in order to get your pay, you will have to submit a timesheet. Every agency is different, but it's typically either like the Sunday or Monday after that week that you just worked. So say like you work overnights and you work Saturday night into Sunday. Most places that Sunday is the start of a new pay period. However, they'll take your timesheet up until like the Sunday afternoon or the Monday afternoon to submit it. Don't be like me. I missed the week. I don't know what I was doing and I forgot to submit my timesheet. You still get paid, but just not that week. And now that whole check is on to the following week's check. It kind of makes it feel like, dang, this check is mad fat, but it's not. It's just your last week's pay that you forgot to submit, so don't do that. When you look at your pay stub, it's gonna be broken down into basically two categories. It's going to be your taxable income versus your non-taxable income, or your hourly rate versus your stipend. Your hourly, it's just your normal, how many hours you work times what they're offering to pay you, that's it. Your stipend is depending on like where you live, and it's money allocated for you for both housing, meal, and car and incidentals. So it varies from contract to contract. It varies from company to company. So when you're looking into signing your contract, make sure that you really are looking into that, because yeah, it might be enticing that your hourly is so high, but that's getting taxed. You wanna make sure that you're looking more so at the stipend. That's something to ask your recruiter. If your stipend is maxed out, you wanna make sure you're getting the most money that you possibly can, that they're not taxing. Your stipend will fluctuate depending on where you live. So say you and I are working at the same hospital, but you live over 50 miles away, I live under 50 miles away from said hospital. My stipend is going to be taxed. There's going to be a local tax placed on that stipend. Whereas for you, since you're more of a distant traveler, there's not going to be a stipend placed on that for you. If you want a contract that you're getting your full stipend, not taxing it, you want to make sure that you're working at a hospital that is over 50 miles away from your tax home. The next thing we're going to talk about is scheduling. Some hospitals will allow you to pick your scheduling with the staff. Everybody's considered. Some hospitals, like the last hospital I was at, they don't really treat you like staff. Do the scheduling for their staff members, and then they'll kind of just like plug you in wherever they need you. It's very important when you sign your contract to make sure that you speak with your recruiter and ensure that they put in your request time off, your RTO, because that way when your manager does make the schedule, they're not able to schedule you during those times because it's already in your contract. The only thing is put the things that are important, because you don't want to put too many request time off into your contract. Say there have two candidates who both want the position, but they can only give it to one. Of course, they'll look at like, you know, years of experience and blah, 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 but say you and the other person are neck and neck, same level of experience, they're gonna take the person who has the most flexibility. You can't really pull up to a place and be like, well, I need this week off, this, and that, and that. They'll take the person who is like, oh, I just need, you know, 2 days off right here. That brings us into the travel nursing market. Sometimes there is a surplus of jobs. Like you look and it's just jobs all over the place, raining jobs. Sometimes you look and it's literally dried up. There is no jobs available for miles and miles where you want to be. I'm off right now because I'm choosing to be off, but there was a time when I was living, this is when I was out west, I was off because there was nothing. Like there were no ED jobs within, I don't even know the radius that my recruiter was saying, but there was no ED jobs for real. Like it was so dried up. So I was off for an additional 6 weeks because the job market was just so dried up. So just be mindful of that. It is a thing, it can happen. It comes in waves. There are different seasons where they're more plentiful. There are different seasons when it feels like there's just no job in sight. So just be patient with that. Just be patient and know that the job will come. It just might not come exactly when you want it to come. You could want a job in the heart of the city, but there's nothing available. It kind of on the outskirts or an hour away, there are jobs there and they're good jobs. They have high rates. It's just not an exact place that you want to be in. The ball is in your court. You want to just keep being off, or do you want to take the job right in front of you? Just pivot your plans. Travel nursing is all about just being flexible, thinking you're gonna go in one direction, but like the wind blowing you in a completely different direction. You have to kind of just be okay with it. It's just the nature of the game. Like I said, sometimes the market is dried up. Sometimes it's the agencies. Certain agencies have relationships with different hospitals that get jobs there. They have different relationships. So you can work with one agency that has no relationship with the jobs all the way in this area, and then you work with one agency who has relationships with all the jobs. If you're working with more than one agency, which is totally okay, I actually recommend it in some ways. I have a lot of peers who work with different agencies who have multiple different recruiters and it works for them. I've been working with the same recruiter for like 4 years now, and I prefer it like that. You have to submit all of your different compliance work and submit all of your vaccinations, and it's just a lot of work when you sign up with an agency. If one person gets submitted to the same hospital by 2 different agencies, the hospital will just throw your application away. And I've seen that happen to people close to me. I always remember when it comes to these agencies and the recruiters in the hospitals, honestly, your allegiance is to yourself. If you are working with an agency and they're not suiting you, switch agencies. If you're working with a recruiter and he or she is not fitting you, switch recruiters. You can switch recruiters, stay in the same agency and be like, hey, this is not working. You work with somebody else. If you're at a hospital and it's not working for you because you don't feel safe, you feel like your license is on the line, your allegiance is to you. Do whatever you need to do to CYA. Next thing we're gonna talk about is benefits and insurance. And I can say that that is one of the main things when I talk to people who are staff nurses and why they stay staff and don't start traveling. It's because they love the idea of just having consistent 401k plan and consistent insurance. When it comes to insurance, this has happened to me a few times. If you're off of a contract for over 31 days, your insurance is no longer, like it just basically evaporates into thin air because you're getting your insurance through the travel agency, not through the hospital. In the hospital, if you're off for a little bit of time, even if you're off for over 31 days, I think that you still get your insurance. Travel agencies, no, you don't. And it restarts every single time. It can become a hassle. And same when it comes to benefits, like your 401k, some agencies offer, some agencies don't. But even with that, it's not consistent. You don't get that same stability and consistency that you would with staff nursing when it comes to travel agencies and their benefits and their insurance plans. We're gonna get into housing. Again, another thing that you have to be flexible with. Typically, you're moving around from city to city or different state to state. I've personally never let the agency find housing for me. Instead of giving you the stipend, they would then take that stipend and find housing for you. I'd much rather you just give me my money and I'll figure it out myself, which is why I've used platforms like Airbnb, Furnish Finder, Craigslist to find housing. Some places have been a little expensive, I can't lie. Notice a lot of these short-term rentals, they hike that price up like crazy. Especially if it's furnished, they hike that price up like crazy. It's like, I don't know. You would think by now there would be a little bit more affordable options, but I guess they figure you're getting the money for it, so it doesn't really matter. We can charge out however much we want. It's kind of savage. But you can also stay with your friends and family. If you're going to a city and you know your cousin lives there, be like, hey cuzzo, can I stay with you for a little bit? You can save some money like that, staying with your friends and your family. You really can't talk about travel nursing without talking about moving. A lot of times you're moving multiple times a year. Being that each contract is 13 weeks, if you want to move every 13 weeks, you can totally do that. It can just get really expensive. I've had to ship my car a couple of times, all of my belongings in the car, and I'll ship it. Travel nursing is a lifestyle. Some people really like the nomadic aspect of it, live in different areas, different regions of this country. Some people are like, you know what, I just want to stay in my area, and that's okay too. In certain cities, there's a plethora of hospitals, so you can bounce from each hospital to each hospital if you want. You can also extend in the same hospital that you're at. There have been multiple times that I'm like, you know what, I kind of like it here. I'll extend, and I find myself, I'm like, dang, I've been here a year now. It depends on how you want to play it. Either way, it's fine. There's no right or wrong answer to travel nursing. Your experience is your experience. If your plan is to work in different states, you have to make sure that you have the license for that state. There are some states that take your compact license, and then there's some states they don't care about no compact nothing. It's like, okay, cool that you have that. You need a license for me. I've experienced that a couple of times when it's like, dang, like how many licenses do I need to have? You could submit the receipt to your agency and you'll get reimbursed for that when you do apply for different licenses. Some states, it takes so long. They require so much. Some it's like easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. It literally just depends. So just go into everything thinking that it might take a while. Some states you can get your license back in 2 weeks. Some it could take over 2 months. You want to make sure that you get your license for every state that you are working in so that you are covered. And I'm an emergency department nurse, so a TNCC is very important for me to have, as well as my ACLS, my BLS, and then my PALS. I've worked at a lot of mixed EDs before. It's important that I have my PALS, and you want to make sure that you have all of those things up to date. You have them ready, like screenshots of them, so you can send them to your recruiters or the credential specialist when they come and text you like days before, you know, your assignment starts. You want to make sure that you have everything to send to them, because if you don't, let's say you and that person, again, I, they have their TNCC, but you don't, they might take that person over you. Make sure that you are as padded as you can be going into these places, and that you are as prepared as you can be. Orientation can be different for wherever you go, what different unit is. So again, I'm ED all day, and most places they give you 1 to 2 days of orientation and that's it. They expect that you hit the ground running. They honestly expect that you hit the ground running on the very first day. Like if they ask you to jump in, if there's a code going on, the expectation is that you can help. You should know how to run a code in New York, you should know how to run a code in California. It doesn't matter where you're at. You as the nurse, you should know your job through and through, in and out. Whether you're on meds, whether you're the scribe, whatever your role is, you should know day one. You should feel very confident with all of your skills stepping foot onto that unit. The only questions that you might have are where something is, what's your charting system. There's a certain demographic of people in that area, so you might see different chronic illnesses at one place than you do in a different place. That might differ, but even still, your preceptor should not be teaching you how to be a nurse, just kind of like a little refresher on like, this is how we do it here, this is our unit culture. And finally, we're gonna talk about just hospital culture, the culture that you might step into. You wanna make sure that you are just starting every assignment and just every day with a nice, fresh, positive attitude, an attitude that's ready to be flexible and adaptable and learn and be around different people. If this is your first assignment, this new hospital is not the same as your home hospital. Every place is very different. You just have to be very open to receiving just new knowledge, receiving different attitudes, receiving different ways of doing things, and not have that like, well, this isn't how my old hospital did it. No, it's not. Every place is different. Like, you know, like when you go in a different household, everybody's household, they have their own way of doing stuff. They have their own system. That's the way the hospitals run. You just have to roll with the punches and be okay with that and understand that you are a visitor, you are on their team, and you're just there to help. And you're there for weeks at a time, and that's all. You don't have to get into the politics, that's not your business. You don't have to get into the drama, that's not your business. The only thing that's your business is the patient. Honestly, there might be places that the staff, you know, they're not as nice to the travel nurses, and that's okay. Some people are very welcoming to travel nurses and they treat you like one of their own, and that's okay too. The whole travel nurse experience is what you make it, it's what you take of it, it's just how you immerse yourself into it. Like I said, travel nursing is a lifestyle. It's a journey, and I really hope that you enjoy your journey, and whether it starts soon or it starts in a few years, starts in a few months, I really hope that you enjoy being a travel nurse. And if you have any other questions about travel nursing, let me know. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and I really do hope that this video added some value into your life, into your travel nursing journey, and I will definitely talk to you soon. Bye.